Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Climbing Sycamores podcast, where we look at today's topics to get a better view of Christianity. I'm Annie Beege, and I'm joined by my friends Ben Sadler and Matt Harbach. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Annie is about ready to go on a vacation, and so we thought we would talk about rest and vacation. Summer's kind of time to go on vacations and calm down, and school's over for most people. Do you guys like to vacation? Do you like to rest? Is this hard?
I like seeing new stuff,
Okay.
but
So you would rather go to a new place every year, or do you?
I just like to make sure I'm doing things. Like I don't like rest in the sense of rest.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to just like sit on a beach. I'll sit on a beach for a little while, but like if that's like what you're going to do,
Let your skin get nice and crispy.
no.
We grew up having those kind of vacations where you're always doing something, like always seeing sights. And then I went with a friend to Florida, and they just sat. And I was it was a culture shock because like, what are we doing here? We're just going to sit?
Yeah.
How about today? No, we're just going to sit. That's it? We're not going anywhere? We're not seeing anything? But I think these people were always working, and they're always working on projects, so they really just
Enjoyed
chilled
sitting.
out. Yeah, so I think they needed it.
Well, and I think that's an important topic with regard to rest. Like, what does it mean?
Right,
Like, and I think it means different things to different people.
right.
Even the definition, I looked it up just out of curiosity, and it was like, basically to stop doing work in an effort to rejuvenate or, refresh yourself. But then also the problem is that along with that definition came synonyms that included words like idle and loaf.
Yeah.
And so I think the term itself can be used, in several ways. Like, too much rest.
Yeah.
Are you lazy?
Right.
Not enough rest. Are you a workaholic?
Right.
What is it?
Well, that's what I want to get into. I have a book here that I wanted to read a couple quotes and hear you respond to it. But I don't know if it was in this book or somewhere else. I remember hearing saying, if it's your job to work with your brain, you should rest by working your body. If it's your job to work with your body, you rest by, working your brain. I think that can be true.
Yeah,
so for a
that's
lot of
good.
my stuff, as a pastor, a lot of it's sitting and writing and thinking and researching and counseling. And so for me, yeah, like what you guys are doing, hiking, like that sounds fantastic. Or I want to go on vacation, I'll get up early and go on a longer hike or swimming or something to kind of work my body more, and that feels good.
What if you don't work either one?
Yeah, then you got
Asking
a
for a
lot of
friend.
work to do. Yeah, asking for a friend. All right, so here's a couple quotes. This is from John Mark Comer's book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And the title comes from, there was a kind of an up-and-coming pastor, and he was being mentored by this other guy, and Dallas Willard was his name, kind of like a spiritual guru. And so he asked Dallas Willard, like, what do I need to do? Our church is growing. Do I need to work on how to train the staff, or do I need to work on, learning leadership skills? What do I need to do? And he says, you must ruthlessly eliminate hurry. And he talked about how hurry is in opposition to love. And so there's just a lot of great quotes, and I just want to hear you respond to them. One of them comes from Corrie ten Boom. She was that Holocaust survivor. And she said that if the devil can't make you sin, he'll make you busy. What do you think about that? If the devil can't make you sin, he'll make you busy. Because, and then one other person said, this is Carl Jung, the psychologist, hurry is not of the devil, hurry is the devil. And the reason they say this is because it's hard to love people in a hurry.
Yeah, but don't people also say idle hands are the devil's handiwork?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So what do you think? Yeah, what do you think that means?
That's boredom. Like, I'm going to get into trouble because I'm
There's
bored.
no winning.
Yeah,
You're screwed
pretty
both
much.
ways.
Yeah,
Screwed
I mean,
both
really.
ways.
Well, it's moderation, right? Everything.
So one of the things that keeps coming up in this book is when you ask somebody in modern American culture, and this is not the response throughout the world, how are you doing? What's a normal American response?
Fine.
Yeah, busy is a big one.
Busy, right? Like, And if
Keeping
you were
busy,
to
staying
admit
busy.
that, what are you up to? Nothing. Like you kind of get looked down on, like, really nothing? Are you okay? Like, what's
Yeah.
wrong with you? But if, it's just like one of those admissions, like if you're on you're getting interviewed for a job, like, well, what's your biggest flaw? Well, I work too hard.
Yeah.
I'm just too busy. I'm just such a hard worker. But it actually, it's not sustainable. And I think that's kind of what this author is talking about. So I'd mentioned this before. What do you guys think this is? He brings this up. In 1879,
Ben, move toward
Okay.
the mic. Yeah.
in 1879, Edison invented the light bulb, which made it possible to stay up past sunset. So here's the question. What was the average amount of sleep that a person got before the light bulb?
Well, they did have candles. So
Okay.
there's that.
There's that. Okay. What do you think? So like right now, people would say like, I don't know, get 6-7 hours. I think I usually get 5 or 6 hours.
Oof.
What do you usually get?
If I get like, oh man, I don't know. It's bad. It's all over the place.
Oh, me? Oh, it's either 2 hours or like 10 hours. There's no in between.
No in between.
No.
All right. What do you think? So what is your guess before the light bulb?
I've heard this stat. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but I've heard 12,
Yeah, 11.
11.
Isn't that
Okay.
crazy? Like if you would tell
11. That's what
if
I've
you
heard,
would tell somebody today, yeah, I get 11 hours of sleep, you're like, what's wrong with you? Like,
Yeah.
do you have a sleeping issue? So that's interesting on how this idea that you have to stay up and be productive at every moment of the day, that, rest is almost, it's
Well, if
anti-American
you're
to
out-
actually rest.
You're out working on the farm. You can only work when there's light.
Right. Okay.
So you just you go in, you eat, and you're like, what are we going to do? We can't read. There's no light. We can't do anything. Guess I'll just go to sleep.
Right. Yeah. And now, I have to
Brilliant.
binge watch Netflix until 2 a.m., which, Emily and I got caught doing last night. So then, yeah.
Oh,
then
what are
go
you
to
watching? Side note.
And we were just even watching what we watch. We were watching food shows last night.
Oh, okay.
So nothing interesting. What are you watching?
What do you mean nothing interesting?
Well, to most people, I don't think food shows are interesting to people.
Food. Well, then why do they exist, Benjamin?
Well, I find them interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you guys watch? You watching anything?
I
Do you
don't
have a
watch TV.
binge right now? All right, I have one more quote that I find interesting. So this is from, I think he's quoting from the Blue Zone studies. Have you heard about that? Centennials, people in certain areas live to be over 100 or around 100. So one of the top of the list were Seventh-day Adventists. It's a Christian group who follow strictly the Sabbath laws to take a day off every week. And on average, they found out that Seventh-day Adventists live 10 years longer than the average American.
That's hilarious.
And so he did the math, and guess how much 10 years is over a lifetime? It's almost exactly the amount of Sundays that you
Yeah.
have or Saturdays that you have
seventh of your life.
of your life.
Whatever, yeah.
So his point is either you're going to follow the Sabbath or the Sabbath is going to come for you. Either you're going to take a day off or you're going to die that
Just
much
use
earlier.
up all those days. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to die 10 years earlier. So I thought, again, some of these interesting things that I think in American culture, we kind of need permission to go and do a vacation, to take that day off to recharge and then work hard. I mean, there's also another extreme where now it's like self-care to the extreme where anything that causes
Yuck. I can't stand people like that.
anything that causes me to struggle or be hard or make me stay up late at night
Means
or
I get to go and buy shoes for myself because I've earned this.
treat yourself.
Gosh, I hate that mentality.
I love
Looking
it.
at you, purple hair.
Mind your business.
So where do you guys fall? Do you think you fall more in the workaholicism camp and you find yourself really struggling to settle down, or too much self-care and you need to give yourself a kick in the pants?
I have the perfect balance.
Okay, let's hear it.
where I work every day of the week, but I'm still extremely lazy and get very little done. So I don't sleep enough, but I barely am productive. So it's like a nice 50-50 split of the negatives of both of those.
You're just a mess all the way around.
Yes.
Okay.
But very fun mess.
That's good.
Very fun, charming mess.
How about you, Annie?
What's the question?
So are you more of a workaholic, or are you more of a take care of yourself? What extreme do you fall into? Or
I don't know if I fall into one or the other.
okay. All right. I think, I know for me, there was Emily said that in my previous congregation, we probably would have had more children if I was home more. And because it was just kind of, there was always something to do, and I thought I had to do that. And I think now maybe, I could fall into the other extreme of being too careful with that. But I think you felt guilty. I think especially as a younger pastor, you feel guilty, like you have to meet everybody's need. You have to be busy all the time. You have to prove yourself. And I think maybe just get old enough where you just don't care anymore what people
It's not
think.
that. I think it's important to rest so that you are able, without resentment,
Right.
to take care of other people and your job and things like that. Because I think, too far on one side, you're working all the time, you're pastoring all the time, you're doing whatever, and you don't take time for yourself. Well, then you're just not, like, you just can't physically be
Right.
as able-bodied and minded as you could if you had rested.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I
And
think
without
that,
resentment is a big one too. Like, I don't know, at least for me, like I would feel resentment.
yeah. Yeah, I think, and that's kind of what, or you burn out. And I think there's a lot of people who've burned out. That's kind of, and it's interesting how you can burn out when it doesn't really look like you're doing that much, but if you don't take that time, even little things can it's a slow drip. So I think that can be really, really, really powerful.
I think it's the same like with parenting as well. It's like, for me, my idea of rest is to get away from my house, spend time with my friends. Like, I'm not technically resting. I'm not like laying down, but I am like away from like my responsibilities.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
Right.
just like, okay. So I think, rest, I think in general is just different. It's not just like sleep. It's just escaping maybe a routine or the mundane or whatever,
I agree.
You need rest from that too.
I think for me, so I wear this fitness watch thingy, and it monitors some of these health markers. And it's fascinating because I'll go on a vacation and I'm still active. You're still doing a lot. Yeah. Whether you're planning meals or doing activities or playing games all day. And so you're tired at the end of the day because you're doing a lot of things, but all my numbers of health numbers totally changed.
They're better?
They're much better. And you think, well, why is that so much different? I think you're right that you just need that change of routine. You need that scenery. And what I find fascinating is God mandated these in the Old Testament. He mandated week-long festivals. He mandated a weekly total Sabbath. And I mean, yeah, there's some natural resting with the sun going down, and we've kind of, like we talked about having lights everywhere, we kind of fight against that. But if you didn't have God's word to mandate that, slaves don't rest. In ancient cultures, they were always working. There was no really weekend in the Roman culture. This is a Christian, Judeo-Christian idea of having a weekend. The reason we have 2 days on our weekend is because in our culture, there were Jews who celebrated the Sabbath on Saturday, and there's Christians who celebrated Sunday, the day of Jesus' resurrection, a day of worship. So we kind of have two days off
And we
the
don't
weekend.
use either of
No,
them.
and now they're just days for sports and and more activities. But like you said, it's still changing the routine a little bit. But I find that to be for everybody who celebrates a weekend, that is a gift from Christianity that I think we need, that you wouldn't have if we just had followed some of these ancient Greek and Roman cultures, the other world cultures. So it's it's something and our body needs these. And like I said, I think all these health numbers and like the Seventh-day Adventists living 10 years longer than everybody else because they take this day off. And I guess what I wanted to talk about was, maybe you touched on that with the resentment. If we don't take these times off, we're not actually gaining more time. We're not actually being more productive. We're not actually more helpful. We have to get away so that we can be as engaged in the work as we can when we're there. So
what about this though? So I am 25 and single, aside from being massively talented and just limitless potential. What am I supposed to do? If I were to work just a normal job and then you go home and you just have several hours of free time every night, it just feels like I'm wasting time.
So what do you do now?
Well, I don't know. I just work here and there. I don't know. It feels like I have no routine, honestly. But it seems almost irresponsible for me. It's like I'm not using that time to like go home and talk to my children.
Sure.
So it's like, should I have this free time? And if so, like that doesn't always seem like I'm making the most of the time that I have here on Earth.
Yeah, I think you have to pay attention to your own health, kind of what Annie was saying about being, am I working so much that I'm resentful? But, I think there are things that you do that do fill you up. You're now teaching is over, but a lot of that time was teaching. I wonder if now you kind of know what else you could maybe doing in those hours to make your classes even better. And yeah, I do wonder. Paul talks about how much he appreciated the single life because some of his priorities weren't divided, that can be a gift. And maybe that's worth your assessing. Like, all right, are there other things that I can engage my time in to be more, maybe it is engaging socially, maybe engaging in a cause that I really care about. Like you were saying, Annie, just changing the people I'm seeing kind of fills me up. Are there people or activities in that free time that would actually fill you up so that when you were at work or doing these other things, you would be more engaged? I don't know. What do you think? I don't think you have to always be producing something. I guess that's the thing, is that that's not the only, our American culture kind of looks at our life like an assembly line, that we always have to be churning out something productive, and we have to make the most productive use. And we've lost that appreciation of friendship, appreciation of things that aren't tangible, that aren't you're not just, God didn't just make you to produce things for him. Now you have to be producing something, you have to be offering something of value, but so I don't think you have to always be productive.
I think part of it is there's just there is a pressure, like I'll be sitting at home and it's like, well, I should be reading more, I should be writing more, I should exercise more, I should take more time to pray, I should take time to stretch, just like different healthy practices that people will throw out there. And it's like, boy, I could do that, make myself healthier, but I don't want to,
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is you can't, I think we've said this on this podcast, you can't should all over yourself, right? Like, should doing everything, comparing your...
It's my whole life, Benjamin.
But I think it's a balance between how you're designed. Like, you don't have to be somebody else. Like, what is it for you? If somebody's a complete introvert and they recharge by being alone and doing things that, more creative things alone without being around people, then we shouldn't force them to be an extrovert and recharge around people. So you just have to figure out what works for you, what makes... You even talked about, you say you do exercise, you hate it, right?
Yeah, it's a horrible,
but you feel
thing.
better, right?
Yeah.
So is there a way that you can do exercise that you actually like so that you will feel better, but you actually like it, or no? Is that a losing game?
Exercise is just a way to purge sin. Oh my goodness. It's horrible.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Annie, I know you like to, are you still playing volleyball right now, or is that over right now?
Yes.
Okay. So why, I don't know.
You got room for one more, is what he's asking?
You want in on this?
No. So,
Why do I play volleyball?
yeah, well, I'm just, I think that would be an example of like, all right, you're exercising, but you enjoy it, right? Like you're not.
But I'm with a team. I'm with my friends. And,
Right.
we're competing. Like it's all stuff that I like anyway.
Right, exactly. And so that's what I'm saying with Matt, like, is there a way to do some of these other things that you think you should be doing, but do some of them in a way that you actually like to do it? And I think that's part of, especially as you're trying to figure out who you are and what next steps are in your life, to actually just be comfortable with who you are and what you actually like to do, but still being a productive,
I think almost the harder part is like relaxing is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do kind of feel compulsion to be busy.
Yeah.
I don't always do it.
Yeah.
But even when I'm doing nothing, it's kind of like, oh, that thing I've been putting off, maybe I should do that now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you have people like Pastor Bill who can't sit still for more than 5 seconds, but I think even the rest of us, like, it's really hard to go home and like not do anything, or just like go on a trip, like you said, and just sit on the beach and do nothing.
Right. Yeah. I think it's just finding these rhythms of, one of the books that I found really important it's called The Power of Full Engagement. So to be fully engaged in what you're doing, to work yourself till you're tired, and then recharge. And I think that's a lot of the issue. So
That's interesting.
yeah. So I think that's the big part with all this is, are you working in something you actually care about? Are you giving yourself to something you actually care about, to the point where you're tired, and then to give yourself the freedom to actually completely recharge?
That sounds like I'd have to apply myself.
So, how you doing, Annie?
Fine.
Okay. So,
I do think that vacations are usually like more exhausting than relaxing, though.
oh man, I love vacations.
Oh, they're great. I've got 4 of them this summer.
Where are you going this summer?
We're leaving tomorrow night to go up north Minnesota with the family.
And that's fishing?
No, we're not
Not
calling it a fishing trip.
Okay.
Because my family has women in it, and they like to do things like hike, which for the uninitiated, hiking is just walking, by the way. You can do that at home. And then I have another trip in July up in Canada, flying to Arizona in July.
Okay.
And there's a little short camping thing in August too.
So I would just say, you have worked really hard at school, and
If you say so.
Yeah, I think so. And then done incredible work here at Victory, and I think that's the whole other side. Right now there's an emphasis on either self-care, where there's a bunch of lazy people who don't work hard at what they're doing. And then there's another side of it where you have, this workaholic mentality where you feel like you're sinning if you ever take time off. And I think the balance is to be fully engaged in the work that you're doing, do some things that matter, take care of people, and do the best work you can. And then don't apologize for resting. And to appreciate that this actually comes out of our faith, where God commanded rest, where Jesus got away from the crowds. He was saving the world, and yet he got away from the crowds and would rest with his disciples, and that he would take naps even during storms. And so I think in Jesus we find that perfect balance of working like crazy for the good of people, but also having no problem getting away, even when you're saving the world, to be with your Father. So
I thought about this too. Jesus waited till he was 30
Yeah.
to start his ministry.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders if maybe like if he had been like a 20-year-old, like
Yeah.
people wouldn't have trusted him, or he wouldn't have been able to like have that
Right.
authority.
30 is when you would start to be a rabbi. So that's kind of
okay.
that's a rabbinical tradition where, that's the age of kind of, adulthood.
That's wise, because I see on the internet all the time, it's always like some 25-year-old guy is like, forget everything you know about weight loss. It's like, forget everything you know about investing. I figured out the secret, sign up for my class. And you're just like, oh my gosh, shut up.
Too
What are
young.
you? You're my age. You don't know jack. But he only taught on earth for like 3 years.
Right. And again, that's just so surprising, I think, to our modern American mind, is that you're going to gas yourself for 20 years without ever taking a break, and because you're so important. And Jesus was able to save the world in 3 years, worked really hard engaging with the people around him, was okay not helping everybody. He didn't heal every person in Jerusalem or in Galilee. He healed the people that were in front of him, and he was okay with then taking a nap. And I guess that's what it means to be a follower of Jesus, to be able to follow who he was and what he did, and to be okay with that, and to not either fall into either camp. And so to see that our work is meaningful and to be fully engaged. We don't want to be lazy people. And that's something we talk a lot about here at Victory, is pursuing excellence. Is we want to be as excellent as we can when we're leading worship and our music and our anything, all our digital publications. But hopefully we're also practicing real rest as well, so that we can continue to do the work that we're doing.
I think that's easy for us to say, working here at Victory, where we're all making 6 or 7 figures in the corner office. But what about people that really hate their job, and it is physically and psychologically draining, and they just hate being there, and they come home and they don't even want to relax; they want to blow off steam.
Right.
I mean, that's a cycle.
I think that is where you have to really believe that that's probably a warning sign that God designed you for something else. Because there is somebody, I mean, unless it's just an incredibly toxic work environment, there's somebody that probably loves that work that you're doing, and you hate it. And going somewhere else, where, not that you have to love your job, but you should be able to feel a balance of, I can do this with the right training. This is not outside of who I am. Like, I don't know, if you'd make, I'm amazed by mechanics and builders and stuff, but if you made me do that, I would be miserable. I'm not good at that stuff, and I don't think I have any like natural. So I think if somebody's miserable, that's a warning sign. Don't jump ship today, but if let's say you go on a vacation and you come back and you don't want to go back. Like some people need a vacation, some people need a career change. And so if you feel completely exhausted all the time and you feel completely depressed at going to your job, and it's not because of the toxic environment, it's probably because this isn't where your gifts are. So to be able to evaluate your gifts, trust in the Lord that he's going to open up an opportunity, and it's time to probably make a career change. If that 2-week vacation did not solve your problem.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
right.
I think that's really important. And that's how life should be. You shouldn't be able to enjoy your work. You should feel like you're making a difference. You should feel some level of expertise and excellence, and yet challenge that you can grow. But if you're beating your head against the wall, somebody else would actually probably like that job. So
is it enough? Is it enough though to simply say like, I'm doing this job because I am supporting a family, or so in other words, like, yeah, this job is maybe mundane or whatever, but the end result is that I'm cared for. I'm caring for my family, myself, my extracurriculars, whatever, right? Like, I don't know if that's enough.
Probably
for
not
me,
long.
For me, it's not enough.
Probably not long term, right? I think you all, especially when you're trying to figure it out, and sometimes you just got to pay the bills. But hopefully that's not your career trajectory for the rest of your life. Yeah, don't jump. I've heard it said like, don't try to jump into the boat, another boat, when it's kind of moving away from the shore and you can't jump in. Like, have a plan, don't just be frustrated one day and walk in the office and quit your job because you're frustrated. If you have responsibilities, sometimes your job is just a job, but that's not sustainable. It is fascinating to me that like we think about the people who are like, I'm so thankful for Jane who does all of our accounting and I just couldn't do that. But she gets excited when the numbers line up and when when the expenses and all those, when they all line up. And Laura, when she was doing that work too, that's what she got excited. And so, but I could never do that. But I'm so thankful. And that's what Paul, I think, talked about with the body of Christ, is that every person has got a place in the body of Christ. And so, one of the reasons why you're so exhausted is maybe because you're trying to force yourself into, with all the shoulds that you're putting on yourself, that I should be good at this and I should love my job. Yeah, maybe you need to do this for a little while just to pay the bills. But if it is draining, that's a sign that you probably need to make a move, learn some new skills, and go somewhere else. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that's true?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of when I was in college, I got a job working the night shift at a warehouse.
Sure.
It was terrible. I only had to do it for a couple of months, and it wasn't even full time, so it wasn't horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But when we had 80 people that would start in a crew, and then if they were ahead of schedule, which they frequently were, they would go around and just ask, anyone want to leave? VTO, voluntary time off. You don't get paid. You can just clock out early. And I'm like, no, I had to drive all the way down here. I'm going to stay until 5:45 or whatever it was in the morning. But consistently every night, people would be talking. They're like, oh, I want to get out of here so bad.
Yeah.
And you go there, and it was just the most depressing place. This big sterile rectangle, and everybody's eyes are glazed over.
Yeah.
They're just like zombies. They're all, there's no excitement whatsoever. Some of them talk to each other and they kind of make friends, but it was all of these people hate this, and you can just tell.
Yeah.
And not everyone just has the opportunity.
You're right.
To just get another gig going,
right. And maybe that's also a systemic thing where employers have to find a way to help their employees or show their employees that what they're doing is meaningful. And so, we want to know that our lives and our work is meaningful. And if it's not meaningful, you can pay us whatever you want to pay us, and it will be drudgery. There's no amount of money that can overcome meaninglessness. And so I think it is sad. You think about so many of the products that we enjoy are because basically the slave labor in some third world countries or in China or things like that, where you're thinking on the other end of this, so I can get a cheap product. These people have this meaningless job where they're just a person. They're not treated as a human being. They're a piece of machinery. So I think it is. I wonder, that would be an interesting problem to solve. If you're an owner of that company that you're working for, how do you change the work so that people would actually want to be there? That if you would give them volunteer time off, they wouldn't want to leave because they saw their work as meaningful. Is it, would it help them see where the end product of their work would be? Was it giving them different games as to meet different quotas, and that would, make it more enjoyable? That would, I think we have to find ways to make our work meaningful. I think Pastor Bill does a good job here leading us, to always kind of show why this is connected to our greater mission, and why this isn't just about music or just about a message or just about a video. It's about people. And I think that's really, really important. So. And
we respond by TPing his office.
That's right. Yeah. Speaking of vacation, he's just on vacation. We haven't heard back on what what he thought about it.
He posted something on Facebook.
Oh, good. Well, there you go.
But
that was funny.
I'll have to look.
All right. Anything else on this?
No. If you're listening, take a vacation. Unless you're really lazy, then get your butt to work. You know who you are.
If you'd like to get a hold of us here at the Climbing Sycamores podcast, feel free to email bsadler at victoryofthelamb.com. BSADLER at victoryofthelamb.com. If you like today's intro music, it's been brought to you by Andrew Lynch's song, My Name, Hello.